And we are live.
Excellent. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Coconino County Jail District Virtual Town Hall. My name is Corey Ringenberg, and I'm with the Coconino County Manager's Office, and we appreciate everyone taking the time out of their evening to participate in this informational discussion. Joining us this evening, we have Coconino County Sheriff Jim Driscoll and Coconino County Manager Steve Peru. So together, we will be presenting information on the Coconino County Jail District, Proposition 445. This item will be appearing on the November 8th general election ballot. And following this presentation, we would like to answer any questions you may have related to the Jail District, Prop 445. At this time, I'd like to ask Steve Peru if he would like to provide some opening remarks.
Great. Thank you, Corey. Again, Steve Peru, Coconino County Manager. I'd like to start by giving you some background about the Coconino County Jail District. While the county has been in the jail, has had jail facilities, since its founding in 1891, the jail district was formed in 1997 for the purpose of reviewing jail operations and making recommendations to the Coconino County Board of Supervisors. Those recommendations included the construction of a new jail by creating a half-cent sales tax through the voter approval. So again, the vote then was to create the tax, a sales tax, and that's what was used to construct the new facilities that we have today. As I said today, it is expanded into a full-fledged system of not only detention here in Flagstaff and Holding and Page, but also it also has a positive influence based on in the lives of many incarcerated individuals and their families through programming. And that's a really important key part of the message today, is the important part that programming plays in detention. As the following presentation will show, Proposition 445, the jail district sales tax, supports programs that have had an extraordinary impact on the lives of individuals by reducing recidivism, or people returning to the system in our local criminal justice system. Proposition 445 also supports maintenance and operations of the jail, including personnel, inmate needs, security measures, equipment. Again, there's a lot of different dimensions within a detention facility that all require significant investments, and so that's an important part. We want to emphasize that Proposition 445 is a continuation of the current sales tax. Again, a continuation of the current sales tax. It is not a new sales tax. It's been around for quite a while. And it is not even an increase. And so that's an important part for many individuals in the public. The message is clear. It's a continuation and it's not an increase. It's also not a property tax. It's a continuation of the current excise sales tax on the sale of goods and services. While it applies to all county residents, but more importantly, it applies to individuals that pass through our community. Since it's a sales tax, anytime an individual, regardless of where they come from, and this is a place where people come from around the world to see our beautiful county, individuals that do purchase goods and services that have a sales tax component, we all contribute to the revenue of the sales tax. So again, I want to thank you for attending this town hall. It's been a privilege to be presenting numerous, credit to our Sheriff Driscoll and Corey Ringenberg, numerous presentations throughout the last few weeks relative to this important option or decision rather that voters will make come Tuesday on election day. So I'll turn it back to Corey.
Thank you, Steve. At this time, the sheriff and I would like to go over a presentation. And Stephen, do you have the presentation pulled up?
My apologies. I thought you would have that. Let me get that for you.
If not, I can pull it up real quick. Just a moment.
I've got it.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. So County Manager Steve Peru did touch on a lot of the important elements of Proposition 445 and the history of having a jail in Coconino County. We would like to also touch on what the jail is currently doing and what the jail tax contributes to within our Coconino County jail system. So as we prepare our presentation, we'll start with the question that's going to be placed on the November ballot. And that question asks residents of Coconino County, shall the Coconino County Jail District Board of Directors be authorized to extend the term of the existing Coconino County Jail District excise tax, a sales tax of 1/2 cent by 25 years? Next slide, please. So the first jail district sales tax of 0.3 cents went into effect in 1997. The current jail tax was increased in 2007 by voter approval to 1/2 cent. That's approximately 50 cents on a $100 purchase. And as Steve Prue mentioned, the sales tax is used for goods and services, lodging, restaurants, and other sales tax eligible items in Coconino County. The term of the extension is 25 years, going into effect on July 1st of 2027, ending December 31st of 2051. And again, this sales tax will be paid by residents, non-residents, and visitors throughout Coconino County. Next slide, please. And Sheriff, if you'd like to continue.
Thank you, Corey and Steve. Good evening, everyone. Certainly appreciate this opportunity to talk about the jail and what it does in the community and is part of our community. In the past, the jail has been a revolving door, and so many of the inmates brought into that jail are relating to substance abuse crimes. Generally alcohol, but more recently in the past few years, drugs play a certain part of that as well, and it's ever increasing. We also looked at the jail population growth, and we were seeing the population of the jail just grow in leaps and bounds in the late 1980s and early 1990s, and being able to provide enough housing for inmates, we were bursting at the seams. And it was also expensive. The more people we have in jail, the more cost there is. And it affected the jail budget. And the need for a jail district was certainly evident and recommended by that Blue Ribbon panel that was mentioned earlier. Next slide, please. The jail tax difference, again, that I think we do things somewhat differently than some other jails in the state. And that is our belief in providing inmate programs. The idea of we want people when they leave the jail not to come back. And that's called recidivism, when they can continually repeat coming back into jail. We want to reduce recidivism, and I'll talk more about some of the things that we're doing to reduce that in just a few minutes. But now, with a financially secure and a right-sized jail, we serve our community by providing a safe environment that provides care, custody, and control of the people who are in our custody. We have, as Steve mentioned, we have a Flagstaff facility, a rather large facility, 596 beds, and we have a 48-bed temporary holding facility in the Page community. Next slide, please. About the inmate programs, Exodus is a program that was promised to the voters back in 2006. And it is an in-custody substance abuse program involving drugs and alcohol primarily. And it is what we call our flagship program, and I'll talk quite a bit more about Exodus in a few minutes. But we also look at what other programs we can provide to inmates while they're in our facility. What kind of job training can we do? We provide the opportunity for inmates to get food handlers class to allow them to get a job in that industry when they get out of jail. We know that these people are going to be coming back into the community. 95% of the people who are brought into our jail are going to come back into our communities throughout Coconino County. So we have other programs that deal with job skills that we've partnered with Goodwill on, so that Goodwill can come in and provide that kind of job training that we need. But we also have educational opportunities. A person can get their GED if they're in jail long enough. Can actually get an actual GED, a graduation certificate by going through an internal education program. But we also provide cultural and spiritual and religious programs. We have a variety of things to keep people connected with their families. While they're in jail, it's vital that if people are going to be successful when they get out, that they maintain that connection with their community and their families so that they have positive things to look forward to when they do get out of jail. And we teach life skills, mindfulness, and parenting skills. A lot of people are in jail because they've had difficulty with their finances, so we provide financial literacy training. We teach people how to read. We have literacy training as well, teaching people how to read, how to fill out job applications. And so these kinds of skills, many of them don't have. And once they do get out, if they can leave with that a little bit better opportunity to be successful, our recidivism again is reduced by doing that. Next slide, please. Our Exodus program I mentioned, it's to reduce the impact of substance abuse on the community, but it's more importantly about not coming back to jail, is reducing that recidivism. Part of the reason the jail district was formed in 1996 was the jail overcrowding. So if we're able to keep that jail population down, it's better for the community, and it's also better for those people who've come in at least once to obtain some kind of programming that will help turn their life around. That ability for that person to take charge of their own life. But we also provide educational services to help that person maintain recovery when they do get out of jail. We've had more than 1,600 participants in our Exodus program. Next slide, please. It's all about recidivism, is reducing that and looking at what we've been able to accomplish. In other jails and most jails around the country, the recidivism rate is around 70%. That means that 70% of the people getting out of jail will come back into jail within that first year. Those people that have gone through an Exodus program like ours or some other programs around the country, their recidivism rate coming back into jail is 25 to 30%. So you can see the tremendous success we have with reducing recidivism for people who are effectively able to graduate from an Exodus type of program. And we're very, very proud of Exodus. As I travel around the county, I've had a number of people who have graduated from their program or their family members have, and we're told that Exodus saves people's lives. And again, we are fortunate to be able to provide this to people in jail who are dealing with substance abuse. Next slide, please. So some of the things I talked about earlier with the services provided. On campus, we have a hogan, a traditional hogan that was built from materials that came from the Cameron Hogan Company. And it was reconstructed back on the jail campus. That hogan serves to provide a venue for religious services, Native American services, talking circles. We also have a sweat lodge right outside the hogan where people are allowed to go through that traditional kind of cleansing. We make that available for both males as well as female inmates. We have religious people come in from various ministries to come in and talk and provide counseling to many people within our jail, doing Bible studies, worship services, communion services. And this, we feel, again, is maintaining that connection with people's culture family and their roots. It's important that, again, in order to be successful when they get out, that they maintain or keep these connections vibrant, and so that they're able to reconnect as they leave the jail. Next slide, please. With the jail tax, the addiction recovery, mental health, life skills, we are allowed to continue these programs. Without the funding, the vast majority of these programs would go away. But opportunities in the future, and we've recently added another program through a grant from the Attorney General's office for opioid settlement, but a Pathways to Community, which provides the opportunity for people before they get out of jail to have an assessment done to determine what kind of needs they will have when they get out. This may be mental health assistance, housing assistance. It may involve contacts with the courts or their attorneys. It may involve veteran services. It may involve the need for transportation. But our Pathways program came into effect a little over 2 months ago, and we're already seeing successes with people getting jobs, with people being able to return to their families, and to go through a deferred prosecution system. So we're, again, very, very happy and think that Pathways will, again, contribute to reducing recidivism and having fewer people in our jail. We also have a sustain our jail systems. These include the operations, the door systems, the camera systems, the HVAC systems. There's a lot of space there in the jail that needs maintenance, constant maintenance, now that we have a 22-year-old facility. So again, the cost of managing the facility and providing programs is shared by residents, non-residents, and visitors alike. Next slide, please. So without the jail district, what happens? Well, I mentioned that we would potentially lose the vast majority of our program capabilities. This would mean that the general fund of the county would end up needing to pick up that remaining amount of money to fund the jail. Cities and towns would also end up paying more or being charged for the inmates that they book into our facility. So it would reduce our programs. And we also anticipate with reduced programs that recidivism would be on the increase as well. At this time, I'd like to turn it back to Corey, and I think to finish things up.
Excellent. If we can go to the next slide, please. So the impacts, as the sheriff mentioned, for our local communities, for cities and towns, that financial burden would be displaced from visitors and residents to towns and cities. So without our jail district sales tax, we would actually be displacing approximately 19 million of the $22 million to operate the jail. At this time, I'd like to hand it on over to County Manager Steve Pruitt.
Thank you, Corey, again, and thank you, Sheriff. As the sheriff described, the current jail tax covers not only jail operations, which is an important public safety resource in any community, but more importantly, the tremendous and innovative programs that benefit inmates and, of course, the community at large. Because again, when you combine the two together, we certainly, I think, ensure public safety is very important benefit from the detention programs that we have in the county. The jail district is currently in a sustainable financial condition. And so throughout the years, given the good stewardship and financial leadership of the sheriff and his team and the county, the jail district has been a very viable program, and it's funded, by its funding through the sales tax. It's in a very viable position. However, as Corey indicated and the sheriff indicated, the sales tax make up a fairly significant portion of the jail's resources needed to operate. And so if that were to not continue, as this is a continuation of a tax, not being able to continue would have a pretty big impact, in fact, a major impact on the county as well. The rate of the tax, again, it's a half-cent sales tax, and we feel it's a very conservative, realistic amount given the benefit that comes from it. And so when you look at kind of the return on investment, if you will, the contributions to the sales tax or the payments to the sales tax yield a tremendous amount of benefit back to the community. Half cent, which is a half a penny per $1 purchase. Also, which is equivalent to 5 cents for every $10 or 50 cents for every $100 of taxable goods and services. And so again, the amount is conservative, but yields a fairly significant impact. Indicated that if the proposition does not continue, if it does not pass, we will have to have some very important discussions and some decisions will need to be made, because without that tax, as I said, it funds inmate needs, security maintenance, but also it funds funding for programs. And that was certainly a major message in the sheriff's conversation a few minutes ago. Programs are an important part of the services that we provide. And so having reduced funding in that area would force us to reduce some of the programs that you see there. The detention part would continue. That is the statutory responsibility of the sheriff. And so ensuring public safety will be there, but we feel that the programs are what makes the difference there. In terms of alternate funding that could be made up if the proposition does not continue, that cost would be shifted to the county's general fund, and the county funds a number of different programs and services, from public health to a number of different community programs, the court system. And so we have a lot of different programs and requirements and services that we provide as a county. And so if the jail district were not to continue, we would need to create the capacity within the general fund to make that happen. And of course, that would put a lot of burden in other areas. Another thing to consider, another item to consider is prior to the jail district being formed in 1997, cities and towns that booked individuals into the detention facility were charged a booking fee and a daily fee. And as a result of the jail district passing back then, cities and towns did not need to pay that fee. And so that created a cost savings to those cities and towns. And so if the tax were not to continue, we would need to revert back to charging the fee and the daily rate, which would then in kind of the cascading effect would place a burden on their budgets as well. And also, as I indicated, most importantly is that innovative programming that has truly made a difference in the lives of many individuals would have a different priority. As much as we would like to provide as many programs as possible, with limited funding, we would not be able to do as many things as we do today. If the proposition is approved by the voters, we can count on the sheriff and his team to continue the dedication to addressing the issue through supportive rehabilitation to reduce recidivism. Individuals that come through the detention facility, any opportunity to change those individuals' lives through impactful programming is key to their not returning to the jail, of course, which is an important consideration and important to the community to know that we don't want to have individuals repeat the things that got them incarcerated in the first place. So looking at continuing inmate programs for rehabilitation is an important part of programming, and then also the financial practices that we've had to date to continue to make with a very consolidated and comprehensive package with regard to programs and financial stewardship. So I think at this point in time, I'm going to thank everybody for being here. I know we're going to do a couple questions in Q&A. So Corey, I'm going to turn it back to you and we'll do some Q&A and then we'll do a closing.
Excellent. Thank you, County Manager Peru. So at this time, we'd like to hear from anyone in attendance this evening. If you have any questions and you're on the Zoom, you can click the raise hand icon located at the bottom right of your screen. If you are calling in on the phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand and we will promote you to be able to speak. So at this time, do we have any raised hands in the audience? At this time, I am seeing no raised hands, but we do have a few questions that have come up during other presentations of information and some questions that had been submitted to us prior. One of the questions asks, why are in-jail programs so important? For this question, I would ask Sheriff Driscoll if you could please weigh in.
Thank you, Corey. You know, the need for an in-custody drug and alcohol abuse program has been identified since the 1990s by the previous Sheriff Joe Richards, and then followed by Sheriff Bill Pribble, to help stop the revolving door of substance abuse crimes. Since July 1st of 2007, the voter-approved jail district sales tax supported programs such as Exodus, that multifaceted in-jail substance abuse program, providing mental health treatment, educational services, life skills. In addition, in-custody programs can provide job training and adult and juvenile education, support on the re-entry partnerships, and create a setting for religious and cultural practices like I talked about earlier. The county has built a Hogan and Sweat Lodge on the campus where Native Americans and some others may participate in these meaningful traditions and rituals. And again, that maintaining that connection with family and culture is so important to success when people get out of jail. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Another question we received is, how much of the county jail's budget is supported by the jail district sales tax? For this question, I'd like to ask County Manager Peru to weigh in.
Thank you, Corey. As I indicated a couple minutes ago, the sales tax constitutes a major, if not the major, source of funding for the jail district at approximately 86%. And so 86% of jail operations is funded through the jail district sales tax. Beyond that, the county general fund covers about 12%. And then we also have some revenue coming in from bed rental. And so we have been able to enlist with other jurisdictions to accommodate their inmate housing needs here at our jail. Again, that's through a rental agreement. And so those agencies that we do work with pay a daily fee. And so that compromises a small amount, about 2%. And so that is kind of, as you can see from those numbers, the jail tax does pay a significant majority of the funding for the jail.
Excellent. Thank you, County Manager. At this time, I do not see any other hands raised. And I will do one last call to the public. If you have any questions or anything you would like to ask related to the jail district or Proposition 445, please click the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen, or you may press *9 if you are dialing in. So at this time, I do not see any other hands raised. So at this time, I would like to thank everyone for their time and attention to this evening's town hall. Again, I'd like to remind everyone that the new jail we refer to so often in our community is now over 22 years old. And as an aging facility, it will require routine maintenance and continual care. So in closing, I'd like to thank everyone again for all of their time and attention this evening, and hand it back over to Steve Peru.
Well, again, thank you, Corey. As I indicated, the detention facility, as many other services, they're finite resources. They're finite resources, meaning that there are limitations to it. And as we indicated, the sheriff has made it a priority to look at programming as that key piece of the jail offices and the public they serve. And so, with regard to the education information that we've been providing to the public, we hope that it's been informative to each of you to make an informed decision on election day. We know that there are a lot of propositions to consider We certainly cannot take any position on it. Our role as the staff is to provide as much information, as complete information as possible. However, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us here. Go to the website. The information is there. But again, we do want to thank you for your time. And then I'm going to turn it over to the sheriff to have the last word. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Steve and Corey. You know, jails are part of our community, and like them or not, they're here. And so why not get the maximum benefit from those as well? You know, the idea of programming has been around a while, but the future of jails in this country is going to be about programming, not about incarcerating and punishing. Prisons do that. That's what their job is. But jails are holding people on a temporary basis until their cases are adjudicated. Programming is vital to the future of jails throughout the country. And we've done some very innovative things and shared some just major successes with the programming that we provided. And again, that is the future of jails. And keep that in mind when you go to the polls, that again, they're part of our community. And what would you like to see our jails doing? Because it could be your father, mother, brother, or sister who's in jail. How do you want them treated? What opportunities would you like provided for them should they be unfortunate enough to be in jail? And again, they're part of our community. So thank you, and we appreciate your tuning in tonight. And again, I encourage you to, regardless, is to vote. No, the most important thing is to vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. And hopefully this information is important and impactful in making a decision, and an informed decision when you go to the polls to make a vote. Again, Coconino County's general election is Tuesday, November 8th, and the polling locations and voter centers will be open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. next Tuesday, November 8th. With that, I wish you a good evening, and thank you again for joining us this evening.
Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you.